3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. My name is Ash, and here is today's comic. Focus. You can do it, camera. There we go. Spider-Man Life Story, number 6, The 10's, by Chip Zdarsky, Mark Bagley, Drew Hennessy, Frank D'Armata. Yeah, this is the 6th and final issue, I do believe. Joining me, as always, is Stan the Man. You should know who he is by now. And this is Forky. If you don't know if this is your first time watching the channel, well, it's Forky. You ever watched Toy Story 4? You should know who he is. If you haven't watched Toy Story 4, why aren't you? Pixar makes great movies, and this is one of my favorite new characters. Toy Story 4 is a fantastically written story about heroism and family and caring about people. And holy shit, like, it's great for kids, obviously, but it's fantastic for adults too. One of the great things about Pixar is the multi-layers that they write in. They can write a movie that's very accessible to kids, but then has sophisticated themes that only adults are really going to understand. And it's, anyways, you either know Pixar by now or not, but Forky has a special place for me. I subjectively have identify in some of it aspects of his character and the story. So he's become an intern. He applied and went through the interview process, and so we've accepted him as an intern to the channel, and now he's an expert on all things trash, whereas Stan will be always the expert on good comics everywhere. And oh, hey Stan, did you get me a drink? He did. Also, look at this. Speaking of all things good, Stan, is it my birthday? Actually, my birthday is this month, Stan, and you know I love gummy bears. Good Lord, 5-pound bag. This will last a while, although not too long, if you know what I mean. All right, so here we are with Spider-Man Life Story. I've read about half of this book. I fell asleep because I was reading it in the middle of the night, not because it's boring, but I need to finish it. So I'm going to do that right now, and we're going to come back and talk about it. I'm going to eat some gummy bears, because that's the best candy. Hashtag Candygate. If you're eating Milky Ways, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing? This has been a phenomenal series. So anyways, enough blibber blabbering. My mouth is watering for these gummy bears, and I really want to finish this book. I'll see you in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Is that how that works? I don't know. I've been having the same dream lately. Of the day Uncle Ben died. Of the day I let the robber get away. It's so real, but the feeling is different this time. The robber runs, but Peter? 2019. Every Spider-Man life story book opens this way with the date. It's 10 years have passed. It's a fantastic storytelling method. I love long saga arcs like this. Star Wars did it so well. You tell a story, move ahead 5 years, boom. We don't need to see every single ounce of the character's life. And I'm not knocking. Obviously, I love comics, so I do love seeing every ounce of the character's life, but it's a different way to experience something, and it's really nice to see Spider-Man this way. We see old couple Peter Parker and Mary Jane kissing the way it should be. Pay attention, Marvel. This is the way it should be. Peter and Mary grow old together. There's never one more day. Other people's dreams are boring, and you can bore me with yours when you get back safe and sound, okay? Miss Watson, it's time for us to go. I knew she was going to say that. Just remember, Dad, once you install the component, it'll take at least 5 minutes for it to charge up, and I wish you'd let me join you. I knew what my kids would say as well. Life is remarkably short on surprises the older I get. You know, I need you to stay behind. Protect your mother. Protect your brother. Claire is twice the hero I was at her age. No doubts, no hang-ups. Just leadership. Decisive leadership. Shaped by the superhero civil war. A war that's over, with both sides losing. Miles and I'll be back before you know it. Heroes fighting heroes leads to only one end. The villains win. Now, part of this bothered me. This part here, where it's Claire is twice the hero I was at her age. No doubts, no hangups, just decisive leadership. 20 years ago, I would have read this, and I wouldn't have thought anything about this. I would have been like, whatever, no big deal, you know. But in today's modern, you know, culture war comics, the ultra progressivism, men, we don't need no man type, you know, third wave feminism. Chip Zdarsky being a raging SJW. I cannot help but when I read this, I mean, instantly I hear the record scratch sound, and I'm like, oh God, what are you doing? Don't do this. But I have to also tell you, I thoroughly love this comic. This comic might be a masterpiece. Let's continue. We have Spidey and Miles talking to each other. And I gotta say too, I love this alternate take on Spider-Man, him being old man. Miles works so much better as a new Spider-Man with old Spider-Man, you know, being in his, what, 50s now? 60s? They talk about Doctor Doom. He's like, hey, designed a solid spaceship. Remind me again why we didn't take a proper Quinjet? Doom allows transfer runs to the moon colony, so we're basically pulling a Return of the Jedi and pretending to, sorry, you're probably not up on your 80s classics. I'm familiar. Now, props, number one, just anytime you can insert Star Wars like that, props, that's pretty cool. And it was done kind of just, you know, subtly, didn't hang on it. Okay, as far as we know, Doom has no idea about Stark's old space labs. There weren't a lot of instructions in the wake of Tony's disappearance, but if we do this right, the Doomsday Machine will shut down all of Doom's tech on a global scale. Then the station's auto-destruct kicks in, ensuring that no one can reverse the process. And then we get Miles Morales is incredibly smart. He's been growing by leaps and bounds with scientific studies lately. It's hard to believe that the same thing happened to him that happened to me all those years ago. Bit by a spider, became a hero. He even called himself Spider-Man while I was presumed dead, if you can believe it. But I don't mind. He earned it. Again, I think this is a little forced. I don't like that. But then, these are the only two quibbles I have of the entire book. So that's why I covered it. You're like, Ash, I don't care. Honestly, the rest of the book made me not care either. Let's go on. Spider-Man says, you know, he means he'll be a great hero. He's young and I'm old, and all of my enemies are dead. So they get on the space station and they're supposed to enact this plan. My responsibilities have changed over the years. I still need to help the world, but now my greatest responsibility is to help this generation, give them everything I've got before I think the component goes here. And so they're doing the comic techno mumbo jumbo, just everything works the way it's supposed to, you know, whatever, you ignore, it's not important. We're not reading this for its hard sci-fi, you know. So Parker's talking about, he makes a little joke about Stark. He's like, I was right in thinking Tony used AX inputs on the machine. Finishing the final component while thinking like Tony was tricky. Had to become a real jerk and be wrong about everything else in life. And then Miles is like, God, enough with the jokes, Parker. We're on the clock. To which Peter responds, Parker, Miles, you really got to take it down a notch before, uh-oh. And everything goes dark when he hits the button. So Peter's like looking around. Miles continues to work. And he looks out the window and sees their jet all, Miles, protect the machine. We have visitors. So in true comic book fashion, it's not a drama. We get right into it. Something's going on. Damn, it's never easy. Spider sense isn't going off, though. Whatever is here might be friendly, which would be a first. And then it's like, Peter Parker, we once told you that we'd go to the ends of the earth. And you see the horror in Peter's eyes. To hunt you. And it's Craven Venom. What a nightmare. Holy shit. Peter's like, And it turns out we'd even go beyond Earth. And he's like, So they're trying to save the world. And now Craven Venom just shows up because he does. Like, he just hates... Venom hates Peter Parker. Craven wants to hunt the spider, you know. And it's just like, anything that can go wrong will, and does not ever make Peter's life easy. So he's talking about how his senses don't work because of the Venom symbiote, which is one of the reasons why Venom is so dangerous to Peter. Then Miles jumps in. I've got this. Ah, yes, the little spider. I was going to wait to hunt you until you were ready, until you were a challenge. Ugh. He's getting socked, and it's a good fight. We get some action. Mark Bagley. This is what Mark Bagley excels at, right? Is cool action scenes and getting to see the dynamic paneling. But even Venom just overpowers Miles. You don't know power yet, so here's a taste. And he just like crushes his helmet. Let my other infect you. Let it become a part of you. And we can do great things together, you and I. Oh, you. Ha ha ha. Sorry, a little Joker thing came out there. Oh, this is rich. Well played, old friend. And then Peter's like, Kraven, you're not my friend anymore. And then Parker, of course, knows how to defeat Venom. He's got the sonic device or whatever in his gauntlets and shatters the symbiote. And we've come to find out that Kraven actually is dead. The Venom host just did his skeleton, and as we've learned through the Donny Cates run, these symbiotes can sort of tap into the psychic residue of a corpse, and so that was just an echo of Raven. Just a skeleton. All my enemies are dead. Isn't that right? Otto. Parker. And then boom, and you're like, what's going on? And now Miles is fighting Peter Parker, except it's not. It's Superior Spider-Man as Miles Morales. You're like, oh shit. Two men with spider sense should be able to make it impossible to land a punch, but Miles has powers that I don't, throwing me off visually. My reflexes aren't what they used to. And so now Spider-Man versus Spider-Man, old versus new. And then, Otto's monologuing like a villain. My performance as Miles was perfect. Perfect. How did you keep him talking until you could figure a way out? And then so he's talking to Miles, and Otto decides, I'm going to beat you with my mind. Because that's, I guess, the one. Really, dog? Really? Hey, we're recording. Just so you know, I mean, you can... I'm supposed to be the thirsty one. Oh, whatever. So he takes him into this like Matrix-like construct thing in his mind, and good supervillain is got ego, right? And he can't stand that Parker is this super genius that studied with Reed Richards, and so forth. And so he's like, I'm going to destroy your mind. The brilliant disciple of Reed Richards, Miles Warren, of Norman Osborn. I'm going to take over your brain but I'm not going to take over your brain like I did with young Miles. I'm going to pound it into dust. And you're like, oh, damn. And it's like, you and what army? That's right, Peter. That's right. And so then we get this big 2-page spread of Peter fighting his villains. And then he's got his own, I guess, with his mind, he makes his own Spider-Man army to fight, and some cool, just cool comic book imagery, the kind of classic comic storytelling that we used to love. We've done this dance before, Otto, a lifetime of it, and it always ends the same way. So what makes you think that this would be any different? Because you're still the same old stunted man-child you always were, whereas I've evolved. Uh-oh. So, Spider-Man, any more tricks up your sleeves? Any more waggish remarks? Or are you ready to boink, Achilles heel, Aunt May? May? Otto, what have you done? I just... And so May talks down and he's like, it's not fair that I died, that you... No, Otto, what's not fair is you taking a young man's life just so you can correct your mistakes. You've lived your life. I lived mine. You want to be the hero now? Let Miles go. Let your hatred for Peter go. It was never a competition for my love, Otto. There's no limit on love. But May, I'm so scared. It'll be okay, Otto. Trust me. And then he vanishes. And Peter says, "Fought that guy for decades, and a memory of you just beat him with a hug." God, that was a great line. Oh, Peter, it's simple. Somebody wants something, it's almost never about horrid fisticuffs or world domination. Then what do I want, May? Nothing ever really changes. You managed to have a beautiful life with Mary Jane, sweet Benji and Claire. It fills my heart knowing that. That's what you have, though. What you want is to save Ben. God, this choked me up. It's choking me up again. What you want is to save Ben, but you can't. So you save everyone else. You realized years ago that'll never change, so you embraced it. So go, Peter, my sweet boy. Crack, 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 crack. Save everyone. And then the space station, the glass, the space station blows because it was weakened in the fight. And Peter's having to save Miles, who's unconscious. And we get this action, and it's tense. And I'm not going to read it to you or anything. And they get to this last part, and there's this escape pod or whatever. And Parker's just like, "There's only ever one parachute." "All right, Otto, here's the deal." "Parker, what are you?" "Someone's got to stick around. Make sure this works, Otto. Go back, be a hero. Give Miles his life back. Promise me. Promise May." "No, wait, let me help you. We can save everyone." "Sorry, Doc. Can't let you sacrifice a life that's not your own." Oh, and it's like, damn, this is good writing. Holy shit. And this is a hero. Say anything you will about Chip Zdarsky. I've said plenty of things criticizing the man, but this guy understands heroes, and he understands Peter Parker. And when he's not trying to push his social agenda on me, he can write a fucking damn good comic. And 2 minutes and 30 seconds, station's falling apart faster than I can patch it. We get this tense moments where Peter's just trying to hold things together, and we get this iconic moment that we've seen before where Peter's holding things together with his webs. He's running out of webbing. Everything's about to blow. There's a huge hole in the station. Atmosphere is probably escaping. No, 40 seconds. "I'm sorry. Aunt May, I'm sorry. I wish I could have been stronger. Could have." And then the symbiote saves him. Damn! Holy shit! Now, a lot of people may not have read Spider-Man in the 90s. My boy, Sergeant Bats, he's a big Spider-Man fan. We were talking the other night about symbiote and stuff, and he doesn't like Venom. And I asked him, I said, "But you never read Spider-Man, like the Todd McFarlane era, where Venom comes into being and he's a villain of Spider-Man?" He's like, no. I said, "You only read the Venom that when they made him like Lethal Protector and he sort of became this anti-hero." And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, that's the Venom that kind of became stupid." What made Venom is my favorite Spider-Man villain, and the reason I love Venom, it's so three-dimensional, it's multi-layered. The symbiote loves Peter Parker. So even though it's the Venom itself, wants to kill Spider-Man, it's sort of that spurned lover sort of thing, and it can't let Parker die. And that was always the dynamics of Eddie Brock, right? Eddie Brock didn't like Peter Parker, and he used the symbiote's animosity and stuff, and a lot of times Brock couldn't finish off Parker because the symbiote would hold back. And it's this really cool layer that, most villains don't have. And just this scene here, when you're like, I was thinking, oh shit, this is the end. Parker's bites the dust. And you're like, oh, damn, this is what seals up the oxygen. And, so buying time for the station, he can pull things. And we get this. Now, I've said in the past, Mark Bagley's strength is not emotion, right? He's just the action man. He's drawn kick-ass characters, throwing punches, and, big dynamic scenes like this. You're just like, yeah, so you can pin up on your, when you're a kid, you might, if you were a kid who dared rip up your comics, you could pull these out and pin them up on your walls. you know, this is where Bagley shines. He's not like a modern artist, are more about the whole facial expressions and conveying emotions and things like that. And there's different strengths. Bagley, I've critiqued as not really having that. And in the old days, old styles of comics, that wasn't as necessary. But damn, he pulls out the stops here. Look at this old man Parker. Damn. And just the sadness in his eyes, glistening up, and it's just restrained enough. You know, you don't see tears all gushing out. You just see a man who understands what's at stake and what's in store. And then boom. Oh. Bravo, Mark Bagley. Mary Jane, I think I did it. And then we cut to the white. I think everything is going to be all right. Of course it is. Doomsday Pulse activated. Here we see. It's what you do. Will Otto do the right thing? Yeah, I think so. Will Benji and Claire be all right? We taught them well. And I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. And then we see it's lighting up. Unless I also get bitten by a radioactive spider and have to put myself in jeopardy every day. We see the pulse. But how can you even believe me, Tiger? I'm just your brain cooking up an MJ clone. Shh, don't use the C word anymore. Besides, after decades together, I know you better than I know myself. I know everything you're about to say, how you're feeling, your worries, your dreams. You're my heart, Mary Jane Watson. You're my jackpot. Boom. Damn. Damn. It's not over. His funeral was today. We see Miles confronting Otto, dying. I'm sorry. I tried to be the best. Never meant to. I never meant to. I wanted to kill you, Otto. Just reach down and pull the plugs and end everything. But Peter wouldn't have done that, and neither will I. You can just lie here and think about the strength that takes. Thank you for coming by. Da, da, da. And she confronts Mary Jane. And Mary Jane talks to him, and he's like, I don't know if I can continue. Da, da, da. And she brings out a gift. I mean, you already have the name. MJ, look, I know dreams are boring. But I keep having this one. It's the day Uncle Ben died. The day I let his killer get away. It's so real, MJ. It's like I'm there again, and yes, I know what you're about to say. But this isn't me beating myself up again like always. It's different this time. It's a good dream. That is Spider-Man life story number 6. And holy shit, did it get me. This, I believe, is a 6P. I'm so glad I bought this comic back at number 1. So glad. Before I bought this comic, I was anti-Marvel, anti-current Marvel. I've said in many other videos before, I'm a big Marvel fanboy from days gone by. But Marvel had up to that point been shitting the bed so bad that there was nothing worth buying, in my opinion. But gateway into comics, Chase over there, his video. If you haven't watched his channel, Gateway into Comics, he does really good stuff. He did this video that touched my heartstrings. Like he conveyed something, the emotion of this book and what it meant to him. Reached out to me. And there was this connection, and I said, I gotta buy this book. There's something about I gotta try this. And I got it, and sure enough, everything he said about the book was spot on. And this ended up being a great ride. 6 issues, every single one of them fantastic. I want to say this might be the best of the bunch, but that's because the ending is always the strong part of the story, right? And so if the ending is really good, it always feels like the best part. But to be truthful, every single issue has been spot on. This one hit me the hardest emotionally. Issue 3 was really strong as well. It's an interesting thing about subjectivity, and you may read these books. Sergeant Batts didn't like issues, I think, 3 and 4 that much, for whatever reason. We have different life experiences. We relate to experience, things that we see, stories that we hear in different ways. This one has hit me in the gut time and time again. But beyond that subjective reaction, there's just greatness in the writing. This is a man who knows his craft, who had a story to tell, and he knew how to execute it. And this bookend, the way that the comic ends in the dream that it started way back, that you don't realize what you're reading until you get to the end, and you go back and see it again, and it starts off with the dream, and you see here the cut the light. The robber runs, and he gets interrupted. The robber runs, but Peter, it's not time yet. It's not time to finish the dream. He's got one more thing to do. And we get to the end, and oh God, go save. Aunt May saying, "Go save everyone." Jeez. God, it chokes me up. God, I feel like a sissy, but I don't think it's sissy to feel emotions. This scene here, where he's just facing this ultimate doom. The darkness is coming, and boom, there's the symbiote. This scene, masterful. Mary Jane, I think I did it. To talking to Mary Jane in his head. He's realizing he's letting go. He knows he doesn't have much time left. This is it. Man, lost for words. And the use of that black screen, that's the second time they've done this in this book. Powerful effect, a black page, nothing on it, but more powerful than most comic book pages. And you get to hear where it's the dream again. But I keep having this one. It goes back to the dream, and this time you can tell the rest of the dream. But it's different this time. It's a good dream. And Peter's finally at peace, our hero. Wow. I know this has been a long video. I really do try to keep these short, but I didn't want to disservice this book. This book is a masterpiece. As a whole, it 6 issues. You got to get this series. If you don't get them in floppies, well, that's too bad. But I mean, a trade's coming out. This is something you want to own. Honestly, this is this might be the best the best Spider-Man story I have ever read in my life. It is that good. It's not without criticism. It's not beyond reproach, right? There are little nitpick things, but those things, if you look back in hindsight now, you can see, I picked on those, I don't like that. But honestly, that didn't matter. And when I'm done, I'm like, I don't even care. That's whatever. It's nothing. That's how this book is so good. Stan, you should be proud. Look at that. Celebrate with that gummy bear. There's no better way. What about you, Forky? Yep, you too. They have their gummy bears. All right. I'm Ash. That's Stan. That's Forky. This is a great comic. Go out and buy it. Honestly, if you're one of these people, like I have been in the past, and saying there's no good comics out there, especially Marvel. There's no good Marvel comics. It's wrong. This is as good as anything I have ever read at any point in any time in history. There are great comics out there, and they don't cost you $40 on Indiegogo. It's $4.99, 32 pages. Utterly fantastic. You'll read this again and again. I can't say anything more. I'm just blabbing at this point. I loved it so much. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Put your comments down below. I do appreciate constructive feedback, criticism of my own. And I like to talk to you. You can come on Discord. I'll try to respond to every comments I get on YouTube. And I just appreciate everyone for listening and getting this far. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you next time.